Jesus, it's almost a hurt. It's time to ride. Yalla Habibi. Pack the Dodge and get inside. Put on that podcast with Matt Taibbi, or LL's Rock the Bells, or Bakersfield Beat, or 60s on 6, or country jam bands with hillbillies and hicks. Tune it up. Let's hit the road. Bump the bass till the woofer overload. Crank up the volume and open Google or Apple Maps. Pedal to the metal, zoom zoom. So grab a snack or have a nap. We done crossed 17 state lines, but got a few more to go. I got my speeding ticket fine and video to show. We've seen so much in so little time, it's gonna take a year just to unwind. Been riding all day, every day to the next camp spot. It's a good thing we packed our Coleman electric cooler, firewood in your pots. The food's been delicious, the company's so sweet, views so epic, and time together such a treat. Now with our butts in these leather seats, let's hit the streets. Let's blow this popsicle stand, make some haste. We've seen so much of the land, but there's still no time to waste. We're out of Montana and to the Black Hills, several hundred miles before we can relax and chill. And still, this wild and free country on a budget is such a thrill. It's like our ancestors bequeathed this adventure out of their will. Two lovers side by side with enough money in their pockets and gas in their ride out to discover each other, nature on the other side. Over the mountain and through the Great Plains, over the rivers, merging and diverging under their lanes. Too many memories to process, store, and recall with only their brains. 10,000 photos taken by each from sunrise to sunset, from forest to beach, chase the horizon just long enough to reach America the beautiful in green, brown, and blue, hollers, canyons, and jungles in multiple hues, like a couple of sleuths out looking for clues, like grandma and grandpa on a cruise. With little other than each other, how could we lose? With so many roads to these destinations we choose, with our bodies in warm clothes and our feet in our shoes, with so many campsites for us to borrow and use. Out in our home of the brave and land of the free, our butts in the charger from east to west seas, grateful as can be in this time of death and disease, to visit these places that few people see and witness the splendor in and around you and me. Like historic explorers across new frontiers with food in our cooler and just enough gear, stopping at grocers for meats Nook expertly sears at our campfire kitchen while Adam records for her peers, documentary footage that we'll cherish for years, showing Grand Canyon tears and telling of Portland fears, Washington snow cheers before Montana river beers, Yellowstone, buffalo, and Northwest Texas steers, spirits rising while falling deeper in love, sleeping under stars and dreaming of what's above, sharing good times on our epic road trip together, making memories that will surely last forever. And our country's so vast, so grand, and so bold as it deals with its past as stories are told, a juxtaposed chronology of new and of old, a stolen territory where people were bought and sold, where freedom is expensive and children sleep in the cold, where a privatized highway to heaven charges a toll, where Clouseau-esque gumshoes cost too many souls, and privileged executives tighten payrolls, while corporate criminals manipulate political polls, where layperson lawmakers put the majority on hold, where mobs of lawyers chase ambulances like shoals, where schools are underfunded and big business is on the dole, where Canadian healthcare is conflated with Venezuela breadlines, where civil justice is inaccessible and protesters face impossible fines, where nearly 1 in 5 has seen the inside of a cell, where camels apparently thread eyes of needles while millions languish in a living hell. In America, there are just too many injustices and abuses for one person to tell. There's a fissure in the culture like a fractured Liberty Bell. But even still, it's not like everything is unwell, nor everyone on a highway to hell, nor every town reeking of the bovina bullshit smell, nor are many people advertising their souls or minds to sell. So as we drove across the country, we found an American tale to tell that began in an ivory tower of sin, but eventually fell, and ever so slowly amended its ways through recent days, even in spite of all the media craze and what that one crazy uncle unfortunately says. America is so clearly mine, but also hers and yours, from forests to deserts, from valleys to shores. Acceptance and tolerance ooze out of its pores. Laws can be changed as there's irreverence for days of yore. Customs and cultures are fluid as minds open their doors. Maybe the only true constant is that nobody really knows what's in store. In our gargantuan socio-political, economic experiment, the truth about science and empirical facts cannot relent. People constantly try to tear it down but hardly make a dent. Even when corrupt crony officials refuse to repent and egomaniacal money hoarders get addicted to seeking rent, regular civilians pick apart warehouses of data on issues divergent, inspect it, detect it, and piece it together via processes convergent. As time marches on, even the most convoluted quagmire begins to make sense. And that knowledge kicks us out of the past and into the present tense, where passionate people make wicked smart arguments. Too powerful to suppress as public opinion foments, as individuals and collectives drop their psycho-mechanisms protective, as empathy and citizenship become primary directives, as a critical mass becomes sufficiently introspective, and as information technology provides overwhelming perspective. Oddly enough, some ancient, maniac, racist, fanatical fools with wooden teeth and whiskey drool did something right by giving us a few tools that empower our people to write our own rules. Regardless of religions or popular superstition, notwithstanding races, colors, or creeds, enlightened interpretation of timeless doctrine is all one needs. To read into and out of those old parchment feeds, all developed to stand in place of some magical mustard seed, and with only that morsel of faith and a touch of care, strange as it seems, that habitual offender flawed system can take everybody anywhere. Those rotten old racist and bigoted structures can also become fair. That's just the wildly revolutionary free spirit of philosophy is conceptualized over there. Not much of anything is written in stone, and so long as we're human we can all atone. Except for the physical laws of our infinite universe, none of these regulations nor procedures are perpetually valid verse. What was once alive in America has been sent to the grave officially cursed, struck down and thrown out with prejudice by summary judgments most terse. There are many possible realities, and this one is certainly not the worst. Now that doesn't mean our country is perfect nor even the best, but it's certainly got comparative and competitive advantages against the rest. And these facts were apparent as we headed home from the west. With our seatbelts across our chest, feeling completely distressed and rather impressed. Sure, it was a little ambitious, those 9,000 miles, but we saw so many landscapes as they transitioned through styles. All the while enjoying some fresh air, music, and smiles. The car was a bit cramped in those last couple days, and I had to sleep at a couple rest areas as we missed our Iowa stay. I didn't care to fight my drowsiness at night as the lights began to fade. Our average velocity diminished with our direction in retrograde. Balling on a budget, spending only a little bit more than I got paid. It would be months before we recognized how many memories we made. Out in the wild like some kind of funky birds and bees, with our tent and our Dodge like the pod for these two peas. Probably reduced the bug population by not less than 1 billion flies and fleas as we drove through those burnt out, smoky and lush green trees, praying in foreign languages, saying our thanks and our pleas, eating good in some caribou and bison's neighborhood, cooking with wood, listening to others talk about what has been and what might could, feeling ever so slightly proud, but mostly just as we should, grateful, gracious, and thankfully understood.